Hi, I'm Eleanor from Refuge Design Workshop. In these videos, I invite you to see spaces through a designer's lens, to notice the subtle details and intentional choices that make a room not just beautiful, but truly livable. Whether you're reimagining your own space or helping someone, a loved one, adapt theirs, understanding how to read a well-designed room can transform how you approach your home. Today, we're taking a closer look at a fascinating Paris apartment designed by consultant and photographer Paul Binam. This space, which I found on Instagram, and we're going to go there to look at it, it is a very interesting and beautiful space, and it exemplifies how thoughtful minimalism can create an extraordinary level of flexibility, even within a limited square footage. This corner apartment in Paris immediately grabbed my attention, mainly because of this listening room, like this record player listening room. But also, as you'll see in the photos, it has this unique kidney bean shaped living area. And what makes this space remarkable isn't its size, but its adaptability. So Binham is created what designers call a modular living environment. It's a space designed with components that can be easily rearranged to serve different functions. And so modularity in design refers to creating systems with independent parts that can be connected in various ways. So rather than designing a static room with fixed functions, Binham has curated pieces that can transform the space completely based on his needs. So notice how like comfortable and even spacious it feels in here in spite of its limited square footage. This is really the success of the space. In this view, notice the streamlined counter against the wall that's beneath the windows. While technically this is the kitchen, its very minimalist approach sort of reveals something about how Benham uses the space. Because upon closer inspection, we can see some cooking utensils for coffee or tea and perhaps some dishes nearby. Like there's a small fridge and sink providing the essentials around here and here. And then notice also the plants and how they add life and texture to the space, capturing the sun that happens to be coming in this day. So, but rather than forcing the area to be a full chef's kitchen, Benham has embraced what he needs. The counter provides the necessities without overwhelming the space, and this is what authenticity in design really means. So it's creating spaces that reflect how we actually live rather than how we think we should live. And this is a principle that we should apply across generations and all living situations. And the simplicity here in the whole space really also creates a visual calm, which is essential in a compact space where everything remains visible. Central to this space's flexibility are these iconic Togo seating pieces designed by Michel Ducaroy for Roche-Bobois in 1973. These low-slung quilted seats were revolutionary when introduced. They rejected the traditional furniture construction of wood with upholstery, and instead they're made with a foam structure, an interior foam structure. And when you sit in it, you feel a kind of embrace around your body. And what makes these pieces particularly brilliant for this apartment is their mobility and their adaptability. So in some photos, we see them arranged as a conversation area, like here. In others, they're positioned for movie viewing, like here, or record listening. So the absence of rigid structures allows Benham to reconfigure the living area based on the activity at hand. Notice also how the seating never feels cramped against the wall. Another key principle of small space design. So by allowing breathing room around pieces, the space feels intentional rather than squeezed. So for anyone working with limited square footage, this deliberate spacing can create a sense of luxury that an overcrowded space will never really achieve. As we scroll through the images of this apartment, it's remarkable how many different functions we're getting glimpses of the bedroom here, but how many different functions are possible and how completely they change. So we had that listening studio, we had, be able to lie down on the carpet, then transforming it for personal cinema, and then transforming it into a conversation area. and then transforming it into something, a combination of more casual uses. And then sometimes we also see a bicycle resting in the image, which is so sweet. It's also really intimate here with just a single seat. And, this practical storage is part of the visual composition rather than something to hide away. So, and this integration of necessary items into the aesthetic is actually like, it's a really nice thing. It's a hallmark of this thoughtful small space design. It is part of the design. And then what makes these transformations possible? Let's talk about that. So, first, it's the disciplined absence of clutter, right? Like, impressive. How do you do that? Someone tell me. I'm working on it. Second, the carefully selected and mobile furniture pieces. Yes. And third, the neutral palette that creates a versatile backdrop. So together, these elements create what I call, well, I am calling it now, a transformer house, like the toy, a space that shape shifts to accommodate the diverse activities without feeling cramped or compromised. And then notice also the frosted glass, how it's applied to only about two-thirds of the window, even less if you consider it's maybe even just half of the whole window. So, and this is remarkably sensitive. You get the privacy that you need, the psychological privacy, the literal privacy, but it's also creating a sense of seclusion without claustrophobia. So, and the claustrophobia would come in, if it was a completely obscured window. Notice also the twin pendant lights, how they introduce a little visual rhythm while maintaining the space's minimalist integrity. Their spoke design, the sort of wheel spoke design, subtly echoes the bicycle wheels in an elegant textural rhythm. I love the way that that connects. It's really feels very natural, very authentic without feeling contrived. Paul Binam's Paris apartment demonstrates how restraint, quality, and flexibility can transform limited space into something extraordinary. The key takeaway isn't about having less, but about making each element work harder through careful selection and arrangement. Thanks for joining me for this closer look at thoughtful design. If you enjoyed this exploration of adaptable spaces, I share more in my Substack newsletter, which you can find in the link below. It comes out on alternate weeks with these videos. I'll be back here on YouTube in 2 weeks with another space that beautifully balances form and function. Until then, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What elements of this transformative apartment resonated most with you? See you next time.